Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and let's get buckled in and get ready for the second installment of my Overwatch League Season 2 predictions and power rankings. So if you missed the first half, go ahead and check out that video I posted last week where I looked at the bottom half of the leaderboard, my predictions for the bottom half of the leaderboard going into Season 2. We looked at the teams that I think will make up 20th through 11th. And today we're going to look at the teams that I think will make up the top 10 of the Overwatch League standings this year. So the way we're doing it is we're breaking the 20 teams into 4 groups of 5, right? The bottom 5, and then the next, and then the top 5. So today we're looking at the top 10, breaking them down into 2 groups, 10 through 6, and then 5 through 1. I'm not doing specific rankings like which team I think will be the number 2 team and then the number 1 team. It's a little too specific, and it's really hard to tell with all of the off-season changes. So just a quick thank you for watching that first video. Thank you for your comments and your suggestions. I'm really enjoying reading and responding to your comments and taking those suggestions to heart for ideas for the next videos on the channel. But let's go ahead and jump in to the top 10 in these power rankings. So teams 10 through 6 are the teams that, might make the playoffs, but they're not really ready to make a championship run quite yet. They're kind of on the outside looking in at that trophy. Maybe they've got a shot to jump up into the top 5. We don't know. So we're going to start out with these 10 through 6 teams, beginning with the Washington Justice. This is kind of my bold pick, so to speak. Everyone seems to put the Washington Justice in the bottom 10, in the bottom 5 even. So this is my bold pick, and here's why I think they're better than everybody pegs them for. First of all, they do have some Overwatch League experience. Now, I know that isn't everything, right? But I think it does make a difference when you have Jonas, Guido, Otto. They have played in the league Season 1, and, a couple of them had moderate amounts of success. Honestly, I think these 3 players are better than their records suggested or their playtime suggested in Season 1, right? When you look at the NYXL, the team was just so stacked, somebody had to sit on the bench. Guido, the Seoul Dynasty had a host of management issues as to why their tank line struggled, why their healer line, while their whole team struggled. I think Guido is better than his record suggested. And Otto, honestly, I think he's underrated. The whole Korean, Chinese language barrier at the Dragons really did a number for that team. And I think Otto, given the chance, given the opportunity to play on a, functioning team, he could be a really good DPS player in the league. So I'm excited to see what these 3 players do, and I'm hoping that they have some better synergy this time around. So for these unproven players, these players who haven't been in the Overwatch League yet, I'm interested to see how they do. I don't know how they'll do, and I don't know a lot about some of these players. But I have a feeling, I just have this gut feeling that the Washington Justice have an opportunity to do well. And I think with players like Corey, I think they will do well, honestly. It's a gut feeling, and that's really what this one comes down to, is that for a lot of the other teams, I look at their players, I look at their management, I look at their track records in previous teams. But for this one, as much as I want to be rational, and as much as I probably should be rational, I also just have this gut feeling that they're going to do well. I think that the leadership from the Overwatch League Season 1 players and coaches are going to come through, and I think that they've done a good job of finding players that could synergize well, right? That hopefully there's not a huge language barrier. I honestly think the Justice could do well in Overwatch League Season 2. Barely cracking the top 10. Just barely. I don't really peg them to be like a huge contender going into, the top 5, but they could be at the bottom of the top 10. That's where I see the Washington Justice in the 6 through 10 range. Next up is the Seoul Dynasty. Now, I wanted this team to do well going into Season 1, and I really thought they would. I thought they would be a top 5 contender. Everybody thought they were going to come in and really be a top 3 team. But we all know how that cookie crumbled. We all know how the players were mismanaged and just a whole host of issues. I'd like to think, here's the thing, I would like to think that going into Season 2, they've solved some of these issues. They know who their starters are going to be. They know who their bench players or their backup players, their specialists are going to be. So I'd like to think that players like Fleta will have an opportunity to shine. Ryu Jae Hong will shine. Zunba will shine, right? Toby, I think hopefully you've got your starting lineup because you sort of traded away some of the other players who were competing for serious playtime, and you don't have this too many cooks in the kitchen kind of situation anymore. Most importantly, I think the addition of Fissure on main tank is going to be an absolutely huge addition. Some people don't like Fissure. Some people think he's overrated. I think he's underrated. I think he should have been in serious consideration for league MVP last year. If I were in the voting, it would have come down to him and Jonak as the top two. His main tank play, his Reinhardt play is fantastic, and I think that'll help solve one of the huge issues that they had last year was in the tank line. So that's part of why I think Seoul Dynasty can really make a run in the 6 through 10 range, maybe even peaking up towards the top 5. I don't know. We were burned once in Season 1, putting them a little too high, so I've tempered that down a little bit. I think they can fall in the 6 through 10 range. We'll see if this year they can pull it together with some consistency and flow, and really have a team that meshes better than they did last year. So that's why I've got them in the 6 through 10 range. Up next is the San Francisco Shock. Now, this team has made some great additions in the offseason. They picked up Striker. They picked up Smurf, who is one of the top rated tanks on the ranked leaderboards. We'll see if that transitions into Overwatch League level play, but hopefully it will. They have a lot of star players from last season. Choi Hyobin came in and did some great things about halfway through the season. Once Super, turned 18 and was able to play, he was fantastic. And really the story of the San Francisco Shock was the second half of the season, they cranked it up. They turned on the gas. Coach Krusty came in, some of their players like Super and Choi Hyobin came in and started annihilating the competition. And so I hope that they will be able to take that momentum and keep moving forward, building off of their momentum from the end of Overwatch League Season 1. My only concern, well, I guess I have two concerns. Number one, I hope they don't have too many DPS. They do have 5. They've got Architect, Rascal, Sinatra, Baby Bay, Striker. All of them are fantastic. Maybe Baby Bay is, number 5 on this team, but the other 4, all just great DPS players. Do you have too many cooks in the kitchen? That's what Seoul Dynasty had with basically their entire team. Do you have too many DPS players? I don't know. I guess if you take all the DPS players, no one else can have them, so you've got that up your sleeve, but hopefully they can figure out who their specialists are, who their starters are, and roll with that. I'm also not 100% sold on their healers just yet. Hopefully Sleepy and Violet can keep the team nice and healed up, keep them together. But I still don't think that either of those considerations are too much to put them in the 6 through 10 range. I do think that they're going to have a fantastic season, really going to end up a lot higher than Season 1. We'll see how it goes, but I'm hopeful for them. I'm really looking forward to seeing if the Shot can keep up that momentum and stay in the 6 through 10 range for Season 2. Up next, we have the Vancouver Titans, or more accurately, just the Runaway. I mean, it's literally just Runaway. So the reason I've got them in the 6 through 10 range is that they have synergy. They've been playing together as Runaway for so long, and they've had huge amounts of success together as a team. And they know how each other plays. That's huge. You don't have to go through that learning phase when you're putting together a team where people have to figure out how to synergize with each other. You've already done that. You have a head start, even though you don't have large amounts of Overwatch League experience. Right? You've got Hureg, who played with the London Spitfire and ended up getting traded away after a while. So he kind of knows what it's like, sitting on the bench, I guess. But the Titans have a shot at really mixing things up this year. And that's why I've got them listed as the best of the incoming expansion teams, because they've got synergy. They're on a roll with that momentum off of their Contenders win recently, their championship win. I'm really looking forward to see if you can take a whole team from Contenders and just plop them into Overwatch League and say, you were the best there, let's see if you can compete. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hopeful, just like I was for the Washington Justice. I don't know if they are truly gonna, run for this trophy, but I'm hopeful. So that's why I've got them in the 6 through 10 range, just because I really do think that they've got the synergy, they've got the momentum, and they can just steamroll their way right into the league and start taking it to some of these players who've been at it for a year already. So looking forward to it. Let's see what they do. And finally, in the 6 through 10 range on my power rankings are going to be the Dallas Fuel. So the Dallas Fuel were similar to the Shock in the sense that they had a rough start to the season, but they started to turn it on later on, right? They started to pick up, they started to win some games and make a run for that stage championship in stage 4. So what has happened here that I think makes them a consistent team going into season 2? They don't have XQC anymore. As great a tank player as he is, I think he was a huge distraction for the team, and I don't know if he was worth all the trouble. He's out of the way, let's move on, right? They've picked up a couple of players. It looks like Effect is going to be ready to roll, like full force this season. They picked up Zachary, they picked up Zachary. I think he's going to be also a fantastic addition coming off of Fusion University. OGE is just playing out of his mind. Like, wasn't he recently, I think recently he had 3 out of the top 5 profiles on the North American leaderboards for a while. Nutty. So I think their tank play is going to be taken care of, right? Last season you had, an iffy XQC, you had a suspended for a few games OGE, and then you had Seagull, who doesn't really main Diva, had to come in and play tank. He ended up being fantastic at it, but again, that's a learning curve that was unnecessary. So hopefully this time around, you've got Mickey, you've got OGE, RCK that can come in and have a solid, stable tank line. Last season, I wasn't impressed with Coco. Sorry, he's moved up to a management position, so that's good. And then on the healer core, right, they let go of Chip Saiyan, which I think was necessary as much as I like Chip Saiyan. And they've got Closer here now to back up Unko and Harry Hook. I think this is a improved tank line, right? I think this is an improved support line. It's an improved DPS line. Everything has just been improved, right? You've got 2 of the best coaches in the game with Jane and Arrow. You don't have distractions. You don't, as of right now, I don't think they have any suspensions. Let's hope they keep it that way. If this team can stay, clean as far as suspensions are concerned, they can stay stable as far as coaching is concerned, they are going to be fantastic this year. Here's a team that everybody thought was going to be pretty good going into season 1, and they didn't, as opposed to the Uprising, who were the opposite. So maybe you don't want to get burned putting the Dallas Fuel too high, but I really do think that, kind of 6th or 7th, maybe 8th is where they could fall going into season 2. So I've got them in my 6th through 10th range. So to wrap it up, the 5 teams that I've got from 10th through 6th are going to be the Washington Justice, the Seoul Dynasty, San Francisco Shock, Vancouver Titans, and Dallas Fuel. Kind of making the playoffs, but not quite ready to take the title just yet. So, by process of elimination, you kind of know, well, you do know, you should know what these top 5 teams are going to be already. But let's take a look and see why I think they're going to be the top 5. First off, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Gladiators. Now, this one is a bit of a stretch. It's kind of another bold move, like with the Washington Justice being in the top 10, I know. But here's why I think the Gladiators could retain a top 5 spot. First of all, even though they did get rid of Fissure, arguably their best player, I think that gives their other tanks opportunity to shine, to really do well. You think about last season, Void came in the playoffs to fill in for Fissure, and he managed to do a pretty good job, right? I don't know what their practice schedules look like, how they practice, but I can only imagine that Void doesn't get the same amount of practice time in Season 1 that Fissure does. To have him come in and do pretty well at it was kind of impressive, honestly. So you give him full time to practice with the team and to synergize going into Season 2, I think he's got a shot to be a pretty good tank player. You've got Bishu, who I think was underrated Season 1. I really like Bishu's play. And then you have Roar. Hopefully, and this is kind of where it hinges on, is hopefully Roar can come in and provide that good third tank play, especially if Goats is going to be, the thing, whatever. I'm hopeful for this tank line, all things considered. I don't know, maybe it's just because that's their aesthetic. They're the Gladiators, they use shields, yar. But honestly, I'm hopeful for the tank line. Surefour is a beast. Hydration is fantastic. I really do think that they have an opportunity to retain this top 5 spot. Again, that's a stretch maybe, because we don't know how well they're going to do with Fissure gone, especially considering the Gladiators kind of rose up with Fissure, right? But hopefully they can keep the momentum going and retain this top 5 spot Season 2. So now we head across the street and take a look at the Los Angeles Valiant. So the Valiant in the offseason let go of a lot of players, but none of them were really like their starting 6, except for Soon. I would say Soon is the most important loss that they've had in this offseason, and hopefully they can, fill that hole a little bit. But other than that, most of the team is more or less the same. I mean, you've still got Custa and Bunny and Fate and Space and Agilities. And I mean, yeah, you do have players coming in like KSF, players like Kuki, and I'm not sure how they're going to synergize with that team, but really you're not rebuilding, right? It's not like the Shanghai Dragons, for example. It's not like you're having to start over. Really, you let go of 1, 2 of your starting 6, and now you're kind of patching the holes there, right? I think Agilities is more than capable, KSF more than capable of filling in for Soon. They're not quite Soon level, but that's okay. I don't think they need them to be. Fate and Space are still going to be good if they decide to roll with those 2 as starting tanks. You're not going to have glaring issues that need to be fixed. It's a if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. The Los Angeles Valiant, they did fine in Season 1, and I think they're going to continue to do fine here. They're going to be a dominant team in the top 5 of Season 2. Third, we're going to look at the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, in all fairness, the Philadelphia Fusion is my favorite team. Just going to put that out there. I'm a huge Philadelphia Fusion fan, but I'm trying to keep bias out of this as much as possible. You just look at the results. They finished 2nd place last season. They didn't have a great showing in the finals, yeah, but they finished 2nd place. So there's no reason that they should drop out of the top 5 here, because similar to the Valiant, they haven't changed a lot, really. They let go of Shadowburn, but near the end of the season, he wasn't playing so much anyway, so they've still got EQO and Carpe on DPS, right? They've still got Poco, Fraggy, and Sato on their tank line, even though they let go of Hotba. Again, he wasn't playing a lot anyway. They've still got Boombox and Neptuno on the support line, even though they've got Elk coming up from Fusion University. I mean, they're still stacked, right? They don't need to make additions, really, and they haven't. They have not made additions to this team other than Elk, but they don't need to. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They made it to the finals with this. No reason to think that they should do anything less than top 5 in Season 2. Up next, we're looking at the New York Excelsior. So the NYXL, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've got still their star players coming back. Meko and Mono are still here. Chonak, the God, is still here. Arc is still here. Animo, Pine, Libero, I mean, you name it, they're all still here. But you have made a couple of additions that could help round out this roster and fill in some of the gaps that they were lacking last year. Most notably, when we watched the New York XL play the Philadelphia Fusion this offseason in the show match, Nene looked out of his mind on Zarya. Even though he's listed as a DPS player on the Overwatch League website, if GOATS continues to be a thing, which I pray and hope that it's not, that's a different story. But if it is, they've got a great Zarya player in Nene, and that's going to be huge if there's still a 3-tank sort of meta going forward. You've got Flower coming in, probably one of the best DPS players out of the upcoming bunch who weren't playing in Season 1. They have definitively improved from last season. They've retained the core players, and they've added a couple of new ones who are going to help round out the little bits of issues, the tank problems that they had last year, really refining this team and perfecting the sort of formula they've got going on here. Maybe they sandbag in the playoffs, maybe they fall apart, I don't know, but again, it's not enough to say that they won't be top 5. Still an incredibly dominant team. The NYXL are top 5 potential, and it's where they're going to be Season 2. And finally, your Season 1 champions, the London Spitfire, are rounding out this top 5. I mean, as much as it pains me to say it, because they beat my team in the finals, they're just fantastic. Prophet, Gesture, Birdring, Bedosin, I mean, like, these guys were killing it when they were playing to their full potential, right? They had some issues about halfway through the season where they stopped synergizing and kind of dropped down a little bit. But I see no reason why that would happen again this year. I think whatever kinks they had, they've ironed them out. they'll be good to go. There's really just not a lot to say here other than they were dominant, they will continue to be dominant. I mean, when you look at traditional sports, and really this applies to all of the top 5, when you look at traditional sports, especially basketball and American football, teams that make it to the playoffs, that make it to the championship game, very rarely miss the playoffs in the following year. Right? It just doesn't happen. A team doesn't decay that quickly. The rest of the league doesn't improve that quickly, especially when you consider that the 8 new teams here don't look like they're going to be serious contenders for the championship. None of these top 5 should really get knocked out. Maybe there's some movement with the Gladiators getting bumped out. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and I could be. But really, for teams like London, for New York, for Philly, I just can't possibly see them not making the top 5. So to wrap that up, my top 5 is both Los Angeles teams, the Gladiators and the Valiant, the Philadelphia Fusion, the New York Excelsior, and the London Spitfire. So that's going to wrap it up for my 2-part series on the Overwatch League Season 2 power rankings and predictions. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what you think, of course, as always. I want to have more conversations in the comments, so let me know if there's a team that you think is overrated or underrated, if there's a player that you think I didn't talk enough about or didn't give enough credit to. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to see what you think of my kind of bold picks in the comments, so let me know. Like I said in the first video, I don't like peddling my own wares, but if you want to subscribe, I really appreciate it. This is the Haitian Homie signing off, and I will see you guys in the next video.